The profaneborn conqueror, according to the 7th century Syriac text, the Antichrist is defined as a demonic man born of a profane union, destined to arise from the east and become the spiritual conqueror of the west. The Apocalypse of Pseudo-Methodius provides one of the most detailed and terrifying biographies of the Antichrist in apocalyptic literature. His birth is specifically placed in Chorazin, one of the Galilean cities cursed by Jesus in the Gospels. He is conceived by a profoundly debauched harlot. Some traditions specify an apostate nun who has been possessed by a demon. From childhood, he is raised and instructed in sorcery and deceit in the city of Bethsaida. This theory is particularly horrifying because it provides a concrete and depraved origin story, making him not merely an evil human, but a biological product of demonic power. The manuscript also places his arrival within a clear historico-eschatological narrative. Before he comes to power, the world will experience great chaos from the unleashing of the legendary savage nations of Gog and Magog. Following this, a pious last Roman emperor will arise, defeat the enemies of Christendom, unify the empire, and usher in a brief period of peace. At the height of his power, this emperor will travel to Jerusalem and lay down his crown at Golgotha. It is at this precise moment that the Antichrist will reveal himself, seize the crown, and begin his deceptive reign from Jerusalem. Thus, the Antichrist in this text is the culmination of a geopolitical drama, a tyrant from the East who comes to dismantle the established Christian order of the West. The cosmoplanos. In the Didache, one of the earliest non-canonical Christian writings, late 1st century A.D., the Antichrist figure is defined as a cosmoplanos, or world deceiver whose power lies in perfect spiritual deception. Unlike depictions of a militaristic tyrant, the Didache paints a picture of a far more subtle and insidious threat. This figure will not arrive with overt force, but will appear as the Son of God, effectively counterfeiting the second coming of Christ. He will perform signs and wonders so convincing that they will successfully deceive the entire world. The primary horror of this theory is its focus on his ability to mislead even the elect. This implies that his appeal will be religious and spiritual, not merely political. The text warns that in the last days, sheep will be turned into wolves and love will be turned into hate. In this climate of apostasy, the world deceiver will rise and humanity will willingly submit to him, believing they are following a divine Messiah. His reign is described as bringing a fiery trial in which many will stumble and perish. Thus, the Antichrist, according to the Didache, is not a physically terrifying monster, but an ideology or figure who perverts truth from within. He represents the ultimate test of faith, where evil arrives wearing the most convincing mask of piety, making the distinction between the genuine and the counterfeit nearly impossible. The Nephilim descendant. The theory drawn from the first book of Enoch defines the Antichrist as the ultimate expression of a supernatural hybrid bloodline resulting from the forbidden union of angels and humans. The Book of Enoch, a highly influential Jewish apocalyptic text, elaborately details the story of the Watchers, a group of angels who descended to earth out of lust for human women. Their unions produced a giant race known as the Nephilim, who filled the world with violence, wickedness, and forbidden knowledge like sorcery and warfare. When these Nephilim died, their disembodied spirits remained on earth as the demons that plague humanity. Although the text does not explicitly use the term Antichrist, its interpretation leads to a terrifying conclusion. The Antichrist of the end times will be the supreme manifestation of this corrupted genetic and spiritual lineage. He is not a mere human possessed by a demon, but a fundamentally different entity, part demigod, part human, yet entirely evil. This supernatural origin explains his extraordinary power, irresistible charisma, and ability to perform astonishing miracles. He would be the physical embodiment of an ancient celestial rebellion brought to the world stage. The horror of this theory lies in the idea that humanity will face a preternaturally superior foe, a malevolent demigod whose power derives from non-human sources, making him a nearly impossible deceiver and tyrant to resist. The man of the lie. From the Dead Sea Scrolls written by the ascetic Jewish community at Qumran, the Antichrist is defined as the man of the lie or preacher of deceit, the primary earthly agent of the cosmic evil force named Balear. The Qumran community held a sharp dualistic worldview, viewing history as an epic battle between the sons of light and the sons of darkness. Balear, an entity equivalent to Satan, is the celestial leader of the dark forces. On earth, he operates through a false prophet or sectarian leader. This figure is their clear counterpart to the Antichrist, His main purpose is to spread false interpretations of God's law, mislead many with his heretical doctrines, and establish a corrupt community. Writings like the Commentary on Habakkuk, Pesher Habakkuk, describe how this man of the lie actively opposes and persecutes the teacher of righteousness, the pious leader of the Qumran community. He is accused of rejecting God's law and building his congregation of deceit through trickery. The struggle between these two figures is seen as a microcosm of the greater eschatological conflict. This theory is frightening because it presents the Antichrist not as a sudden end-times phenomenon, but as an archetype of evil that has been at work throughout history. He is a general in a timeless spiritual war whose goal is to corrupt truth and destroy the community of the faithful from within through insidious doctrine. Nero Redivivus. In the Sibylline Oracles, a syncretic collection of prophecies, the Antichrist is defined as the reincarnation of a notoriously cruel Roman tyrant who will return as a false prophet and world ruler. This theory is deeply connected to the legend of Nero Redivivus, Nero revived. Emperor Nero, whose reign was infamous for its brutal persecution of Christians and extravagant tyranny, was considered by many in antiquity to be the ultimate embodiment of evil. After his mysterious death, rumors spread that he had not truly died, but had fled to Parthia, the east, and would one day return with an army to reclaim Rome. These oracles adopted this legend and transformed it into an eschatological prophecy. This Antichrist Nero figure is depicted as a liar who will return performing great magical signs, conquering the world, and rebuilding Jerusalem. He will usher in a period of false peace and prosperity, which will entice the nations to submit to him. Once his power is secure, however, he will reveal his true nature as a blasphemous tyrant who demands to be worshipped as a god. The horror of this theory lies in the concept that history's greatest evils never truly die but can return in a more powerful and deceptive form. He is the ghost of the past, resurrected to enslave the future, using the allure of stability and prosperity as his means to absolute tyranny. The beast from the sea. The book of Revelation provides the most iconic and comprehensive definition of the Antichrist as the beast from the sea, a global political leader who heads a final totalitarian world system. While never using the word Antichrist, chapter 13 describes this figure in vivid detail. He is a terrifying monster with 7 heads and 10 horns, a symbol that combines the power of all past world empires that opposed God, referencing the beast in the book of Daniel. His authority is not his own. He is given power and his throne and great authority directly by the dragon, who is explicitly identified as Satan. His ultimate deception occurs when he appears to heal from a mortal wound, a counterfeit resurrection that caused the entire world to marvel and worship him. His reign is absolute and covers 3 domains. Political, he rules over every tribe, people, tongue, and nation. Religious, he blasphemes God and, with the help of the beast from the earth or false prophet, compels all people to worship him. And economic, he institutes the mark of the beast, a mark on the right hand or forehead without which no one can buy or sell. The number associated with his name is 666. This theory is the most terrifying for many because it paints a picture of a perfect global dystopia, a new world order where individual freedom is completely extinguished and participation in society is contingent upon absolute loyalty to a Satan-controlled leader. Balear, the lawless king. In the apocryphal text Ascension of Isaiah, the Antichrist, called Balear, is defined as the incarnation of Satan in the form of an exceedingly cruel king, whose reign is marked by extreme physical persecution. This text, dating to around the 2nd century AD, provides one of the most brutal and sadistic portraits of the Antichrist. He is described as descending upon the world in the likeness of a man, a lawless king, the murderer of his mother, and a reference that almost certainly points to Emperor Nero, again linking him to the Nero Redivivus legend. However, the text goes further by emphasizing his supernatural nature. He is not just a human tyrant, but a manifestation of the angel of lawlessness himself. His primary power is his ability to mimic the miracles of Jesus. He will perform many signs and wonders in the earth. The purpose of this power, however, is to solidify his false claim to divinity. He will sit in the temple and say, "I am God, and besides me there is no other." The central horror of this theory lies in its focus on unimaginable physical cruelty. The text states that he will burn with fire the saints, torturing and persecuting those who refuse to worship him. His is a reign of pure terror, where faith is tested not by subtle deception, but by endurance of extreme pain and martyrdom. The Antichrist in this text is a fusion of a supernatural deceiver and a bloodthirsty, sadistic dictator. The Prince of the Deceptive Covenant. The book of Daniel defines the Antichrist as a brilliant political strategist and master diplomat who uses a peace treaty as his primary weapon of deception and conquest. In Daniel's visions, this figure emerges as a little horn on the terrifying fourth beast, interpreted as the Roman Empire or its successor. This horn initially seems insignificant, but grows to become the dominant power, uprooting other kings and speaking pompous words against the Most High. His primary method, however, is not pure military conquest, but cunning subterfuge. In Daniel 9:27, it is detailed that this prince who is to come will confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, widely interpreted as a 7-year period. This covenant is often interpreted as a comprehensive peace treaty, likely centered in the Middle East and involving Israel. For the first half of this period, he will be hailed as a global peacemaker. In the middle of the week, however, he will reveal his true nature. He will break the covenant, put a stop to sacrifice and offering in the Jerusalem temple, and set up the abomination of desolation, an ultimate act of blasphemy that defiles the holy place. The horror of Daniel's theory lies in the Antichrist's intelligence and treachery. He is a wolf in sheep's clothing on a global scale, a genius politician who exploits the world's longing for peace to build his platform, only to shatter all hope with an unimaginable betrayal. The master of demons. Drawing from an interpretation of the Testament of Solomon, the Antichrist is defined as the ultimate occult master, a grand sorcerer whose power derives from his ability to command the demonic realm. The text itself is a legendary narrative, not a direct prophecy. It tells the story of how King Solomon was given a magical signet ring by the archangel Michael, which granted him the power to summon, interrogate, and imprison demons, including their prince, Beelzebul. Solomon used this power for a good purpose, forcing the demons to help him construct God's temple in Jerusalem. However, the text inadvertently creates a model for his antithesis. The theory extrapolated from this speculates that if a servant of God could be given power over demons for a holy purpose, then the Antichrist, as a servant of Satan, will be granted similar power for an evil one. He will not merely be possessed, he will be the master of demons. The miracles and signs he performs will not be illusions or tricks, but real manifestations of dark magic and demonic power under his command. He will be able to unleash legions of evil spirits upon the world to deceive, intimidate, and control humanity. The horror of this theory is that the battle against the Antichrist is not a fight against a human tyrant or a political ideology, but a literal and physical spiritual war against a master sorcerer who has all the powers of hell at his fingertips. The Hollow Messiah. Within the framework of Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah, the Antichrist is defined as the manifestation of the Qliphoth, the dark, hollow, and illusory side of divine reality. Kabbalah depicts creation as an emanation of 10 divine attributes called the Sephirot, which together form the sacred tree of life. However, there is also a shadow side, the Qliphoth, literally husks or shells, which are the forces of imbalance, spiritual emptiness, and pure evil. They are the empty shells that mimic the divine structure, but possess no substance or light. In some Jewish eschatological traditions, a false messiah figure named Armilus is said to be the personification of these Qliphothic forces. Armilus is depicted as the perfect antithesis of the true Messiah. He will appear incredibly powerful, luminous, and possessing all the attributes of a divine savior. He is a dark mirror image of the tree of life, mimicking each Sephira with his own empty version. On the outside, he is perfection. On the inside, he is nothingness. The horror of this theory is profoundly philosophical and metaphysical. The Antichrist in this view is not simply evil in the form of cruelty or oppression, but the ultimate ontological deception. He is absolute emptiness masquerading as ultimate fullness, a false spirituality that leads to total soul destruction. To follow him is to embrace a void, making his theory one of the most intellectually terrifying, as it attacks the very foundation of what constitutes reality and truth itself.